Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. This is my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture, and today we find out that Disney is being sued by one of their investors. Let's find out why, but first be sure to like this video, subscribe, help me reach 1,000 subs. I would really appreciate it. Share it out to all your friends, and leave me a comment. I'd like to talk about all things pop culture, and none has been more in the news than the Walt Disney Company. Oh my gosh, from flop after flop after flop to hiring these woke actors and directors and writers who clearly have no experience in the real world and live in this Hollywood insulated bubble. For those of you who want me to define woke because you don't know how, I guess it's woke is when you look through every society ill through the lens of some form of bigotry. It can be racism, sexism, whatever. Of course, not misandry or anti-religious bigotry, but just anything that seemingly benefits the left. And the cure for that, of course, is communism. So that's what wokeism is. Plain and simple, no other way to put it, although the adherents of it will deny this. They make it out like it's some sort of do-gooder thing. And you can see that. Recently I talked about Rachel Zegler, who she's like, oh, the prince, oh, he's a creepy stalker, even though he has very little screen time in the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. She's gonna play Snow White. She's like, oh, it was made in 1937. Oh, it's so old. Oh my gosh, that sort of whiny, narcissistic, I know better because I'm in Hollywood attitude. Well, it seems like these seeds that Disney has planted, putting in to ESG and DEI and, hiring all these morons who, maybe they have a talent. Clearly, the writers of She-Hulk and Obi-Wan didn't have any talent, or Willow for that matter. But now they're being sued by their investor. Now, a group of investors have already sued Disney. This is a different lawsuit. Um, I think we're going to see more of this. I think we're going to see more investors sue Disney because clearly the direction they're going is not what they expect. So this is from piratesandprincesses.net. In full disclosure, I do write for their sister website, clownfishtv.com. I did not contribute to this article. So it says Hollywood investor is suing Disney, alleges the company is self-dealing. Now, the air quotes are in the title. One time I did a video where I used air quotes, and one of the commenters freaked out. I'm like, dude, it's air quotes. You're like at a here. Come down here. Anyway, the article says the Walt Disney Company is facing yet another lawsuit. This time, the suit is about films' alleged creative accounting and sweetheart deals. TSG Entertainment, a company that has made significant investments into Hollywood productions, is suing Disney and 20th Century Studios, Disney's renamed 20th Century Fox, and claiming that the media giant has used accounting practices to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars. TSG has invested over $3 billion in 140 different Fox films. Among the issues is the third highest-grossing film in history, Avatar: The Way of Water. TSG alleges that Disney used nearly every trick in the Hollywood accounting playbook to withhold money the investment group says is owed them. They also argue that Disney engaged in self-dealings to themselves regarding streaming rights for these films. They argue that Disney took films away from services like HBO, losing lucrative licensing agreements to put the same movies on their Disney-owned services like Hulu, Disney Plus, and even call licensing films to FX a sweetheart deal. TSG argues that this also cost them millions of dollars as the income deficit has hindered their ability to invest in other high-value projects. TSG also alleges that Disney sought to prop up its stock price and the pay packages of CEOs Bob Iger and Bob Chapek at TSG's expense. Wow, this is this is unbelievable, and you can read the rest of the article, at piratesandprincesses.net. But this is I'm actually not really that surprised to hear this. Bob Iger, his vision was for Disney, instead of creating original content with the characters they already own, so instead of making more Mickey Mouse features or Donald Duck, they've done like these little bitty cartoons and have done a couple of video games, but nothing really expansive. His idea was, we're going to take Pixar, which they owned at the time. We're going to acquire Marvel Entertainment, and we're going to acquire Lucasfilm and 20th Century Studios, and we're going to use their properties. Well, the problem was when it did come to their own properties, they started remaking live action remakes and doing it in a way that the fans hated. But instead of saying, okay, we need to course correct, they didn't course correct. They just tripled down, sent out their directors, their writers, their actors, their social media people to attack the fans, to insult them, to call them all kinds of names, and it wasn't necessary. And as a result, the fans slapped back with their wallets. Disney Plus cancellations are kind of the norm now. Honestly, the only people who are still holding on are people who just want to watch the classic films or the old Marvel films over and over again. It's not people who want the new content. They don't even really care about the new content. The Mandalorian was probably one of their most successful things on Disney Plus, but then they blew out all the goodwill that they had earned back from the fans with the infamous firing of Gina Carano. Yeah, and let me tell you something. Do you really think TSG Entertainment cares that some of the Fox movies they invested in goes to Hulu or Disney Plus and avoids HBO Max, or now it's just called Max, or Tubi or Netflix or whatever? No, if they were making money, TSG wouldn't care what app it ended up, their films they invested in ended up on. But the fact is, Disney is using funny money to avoid paying TSG because the profits are gone. With the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, there really hasn't been any. Oh, I guess you could Avatar: The Way of Water, I guess, for some reason. Didn't make as much as the original, by the way. Just keep that in mind, which is what I said would happen. But anyway, they're going to. But because of that stance, TSG isn't making any money off this, and they are suing. It seems to me TSG wasn't originally a Disney investor from gathering, and I could be wrong about this. Correct me in the comments, but just surmising, it seems like they invested a lot in 20th Century Fox before Disney bought it out, and then Disney gave sweetheart deals, as they claim. Now, like I said, this is all alleged, and I'm not an attorney. There's no legal advice in this video. But if I was Disney, I would get my act together. They've lost the court of public opinion when it came to Florida. At first, people seemed very sympathetic to them, but when it came out, all the special treatment that Reedy Creek was getting, which is where Disney has like its own little township. Universal doesn't have its own township. Why should Knott's Berry Farm in California doesn't have its own township? Why should Disney have its own township in Florida? It makes no sense. It's dumb. It's clearly corporatism and favoritism. So, all that to say, Disney is losing the court of public opinion. Like I said, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Avatar: The Way of Water, they have had no film success when it comes to the box office. It has been a dry box office. And now with Rachel Zegler out there, honestly think they thought that they would have something with Snow White because it's one of the first Disney animated feature films, right? It's considered a huge entry in cinematic history, and you can see that Disney was banking on this just by the sheer advertisement. But then Rachel Zegler had to open her mouth, and they had the controversy with the fantasy dwarves and renaming them magical creatures, and Peter Dinklage, for some reason, thinking, being a narcissist, to think he speaks for the whole community of people with dwarfism. And it's just ridiculous. And even Gal Gadot seemingly buying into this woke nonsense. Oh, she doesn't get saved by the prince. For one thing, if you watch the movie, she technically got saved by the dwarves. The prince just gave her true love's kiss to wake her up. Spoiler alert. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But whatever the case may be, I think that we're going to see more lawsuits. We're going to see more angry investors who aren't getting a return on investment. Their parks aren't doing well. All of these film studios that they bought, they're not doing well, and they don't even know what to do with 3/4 of 20th Century Fox's film catalogs. There's rumors they're going to start selling those off. And honestly, there's like talk that Disney is going to sell to Apple. I don't think that's going to happen as long as Bob Iger is the CEO. He's too much of a narcissist to be remembered as the Disney CEO who sold Disney. I actually hope that Disney course corrects, because I think Disney should be its own thing. I don't think it should be owned by another conglomerate. That's my opinion, mainly because of my respect for their founder, Walt Disney and Roy Disney. I have such great respect for them as who they are in pop culture. I know they weren't perfect, but they did help America grow its own culture and show off the storytelling viability of these fairy tales that inspire us as Western culture. So I really do hope that they work it out. I don't really think that's going to happen as long as Bob Iger is in control. I think maybe once he leaves, they'll put in some patsy in place. That's the guy who will be remembered for selling Disney. I think Bob Iger is just trying to catch up and do what he thinks is right for the company. But it's clear more of these lawsuits are going to start popping up as Disney continues to bleed money that they don't have because they cave to social media woke whiners on the internet. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you'll give it a thumbs up, that you'll leave me a comment and tell me what you think, that you'll share it out with your friends, and of course, consider subscribing to StudioJake. I cover all kinds of nerd and pop culture topics, including film, television, anime, comic books, and so much more. I hope that you'll also head over to my main website, StudioJakeMedia.com, where I have even more news, views, and commentary. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, head over to my locals page. That's studiojakemedia.locals.com. It's the best way to support me. I'm trying to build a little community there. I have exclusive reviews and articles, so definitely head over there and check it out. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.